trying to cover being smug and smarmy, James Comey, with an act of just absolute contrived, phony contriteness, takes a victory lap on CNN.
Do you think this is vindication?
It is. I mean, the FBI's had to wait 2 years while the president and his followers lied about the institution. Finally, the truth gets told. I hope it's not too late, but on all the important things, it tells the truth. People have internalized the lies they've heard. Good people believe when a president says something. So they've heard treason, they've heard spying, they've heard informants in the campaign for 2 years. Are they going to pay attention now is my great worry.
I think, it's hard to overstate just how full-throated a debunking of the conspiracy theories this Inspector General report is. I mean, theories that the president has been pushing, his allies have been spreading for years and years and years. I mean, there's no truth to what they have been saying, according to this report.
Yes, and there's a risk we've become so numb to the lying that we just move on to the next outrage, and we can't do that. For 2 years, the President of the United States accused our premier law enforcement agency of treason, of trying to defeat him, of trying to stop him, and it turns out that was all nonsense, that was all lies. We have to pause and think about that because we need this institution. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you need the FBI, you need to see it clearly. And it's human, it makes mistakes, but it's not engaged in treason or a coup or politically minded investigation. That's just a lie.
Inspector General Horowitz drops his report, and of course, nobody's really digesting it, getting into it on the mainstream media. They're not going to, because they got the narrative they need, and it is the narrative they can easily spin. It is a narrative that, sadly, most Americans heard, and that is no political bias. No political bias. And this is all the media needs now to give cover and to quote-unquote debunk all of the conspiratorial theories of a Trump coup.
Julia Ainsley, any reaction coming in for William Barr, whose short legacy there so far really is taking the 23-month-long Mueller investigation, spinning it as it came out, and afterward being quite negative and derogatory about its findings?
Strong reaction from the Attorney General, Nicole. I'm just reading this as it's coming in, but the Attorney General is already saying that this report really questions the legitimacy of the investigation, which is not what the Inspector General said. He said the Inspector General's report.
Where does that come from? From where?
The mainstream media, make no mistake, is part of the globalist agenda. They are part of this one world takedown of the United States as we know it. So, of course, they are going to immediately jump on the bandwagon. Barr has been discredited, and no matter what's coming next, it's all just meant to cover up for the president, when the reality is it's all a cover-up of the deep state, dreamed up and created by the deep state and carried on by the narrative of the media. And what is it that they're surmising right now? Well, the only thing that'll come out of this is that Barr will, shake his fist and say that the FBI had no right to look into the campaign of someone running for the presidency, so he's probably going to make ridiculous recommendations that the FBI not be allowed to do that anymore.
So what I think you're going to hear is a steady drumbeat now is saying, the FBI's got to rewrite policy. They shouldn't be looking at a campaign. That's terribly intrusive. Well, yeah, it's intrusive, but they followed the rules. There was not misconduct in opening and conducting the cases. In fact, in one instance I'm reading here, it finds that the FBI actually went above and beyond existing policies. So, for example, apparently somebody wore a wire. Some cooperating source wore a wire against somebody in this investigation. And FBI policy says a field supervisor can approve that on his squad level.
But there's so much more at play here than just so-called changes in regulations of policy and procedure at the FBI.
And from the report, it says that so many basic and fundamental errors were made by 3 separate handpicked teams on one of the most sensitive FBI investigations that was briefed to the highest levels within the FBI, and that FBI officials expected would eventually be subjected to close scrutiny, raised significant questions regarding the FBI chain of command's management and supervision of the FISA process.
Yeah, that's really concerning.
I mean, it also raises questions about if this happens on the most high-profile thing the FBI is involved with, what happens on lower-level investigations where there's not so much scrutiny?
Yeah, it does. And I can't answer that from this distance, but it's going to have to be looked at. He didn't conclude that the errors made any difference in the ultimate result, in the validity of the applications, but that doesn't matter. It still has to be taken seriously.
He basically didn't weigh in on that at all. Do you think that those errors made a difference?
I can't tell. I mean,
So let's see. The Steele dossier, which, by the way, Mr. Comey, you lied. You were asked point blank by Congress, was the dossier used for the majority evidence to secure the FISA warrants? And you said absolutely not. We do find out from the Horowitz report that, yeah, it was about 99% of the evidence used to secure the FISA warrant. That said, the FISA warrant, which has been, the Steele dossier, which was bought and paid for by Hillary Rodham Clinton, which has been debunked even by mainstream media. They've had to wave the flag and admit it was a bunch of hogwash. It was a political hit job. How can you, with a straight face, say, well, we have no idea if this dossier in securing the warrants had any real outcome on it? What? You wouldn't have been able to go after Flynn. You wouldn't have been able to go after anyone without the FISA warrant, which was obtained as a result of the Steele dossier. There is so much corruption and just, I know every one of us, myself included, were angry. We want to see somebody in handcuffs. But I do believe that Attorney General William Barr, I believe he's playing the long game here. He's got one shot that can really bring down not just the James Comey and the Adam Schiffs and the Nancy Botox Pelosi's, but the people above them. That would include the other presidential administration, the previous presidential administration, and even the people beyond them, the real man behind the curtains string pullers. That's where William Barr wants to go. And he knows he gets one shot at this. One shot at this. And it has to be a kill shot. It has to be a take him down. It's got to be an all or nothing. So you have to understand now why the Democrats have done what they did today in bringing 2 absolutely beyond flimsy articles of impeachment. Even they know how bad it is. First of all, there is no such thing as obstruction of Congress. And as far as the president usurping power, a power grab for himself, once this gets to the Senate, if a real trial is done, notice I said real trial, because I'm coming back to that. See, again, the deep state, behind closed doors, they've concocted yet another plot to try to take down President Trump. They know they can't beat him at the ballot box. So they want to do as much damage as they can that they might be able to persuade enough people not to vote for him, even if they think this entire impeachment inquiry has been unfair, unjust. It was kind of like, did George Bush really beat Al Gore, or was America just suffering from Bill Clinton fatigue? Are they hoping to create enough fatigue against Donald Trump that people who may not be huge supporters of Donald Trump but aren't necessarily the never-Trumpers, might they just say, you know what, it's not that I hate this guy or that I hate everything he does, but man, he is just a lightning rod for controversy and negativity and negative press, and it's day in, day out. Yeesh, enough. And the deep state always takes care of itself, because you have Mitch McConnell now saying when it gets to the Senate, it's going to be over and done and quick. Now, the president doesn't want that. We don't want that, because justice has not yet been rendered. And so if it becomes a quick kill in the Senate, that's just Mitch McConnell covering up for the oligarch, covering up the behind-the-scenes crapola. That is deep state taking care of deep state. That's what Horowitz is trying to do. And that's what McConnell will do. And the only way the truth is ever going to really come out is we need a full, prolonged Senate hearing. Lots of witnesses, lots of testimony, lots of evidence. Because in the Senate, that's when Trump really gets to present his side. And that's when we really get to bring forth some real witnesses that have the real dirt to bring down the entire apparatus. But they don't want it to get that far. So they're rushing these flimsy articles of impeachment. They want McConnell to do a quick kill of it and put it behind him and be done with all of this. But this coup of the president, they want to be able now just to say it's been debunked. The Inspector General said there was no political bias. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You can't believe that, and you can't say that with a straight face. And as we listen to even voices on our side saying justice is coming, we want justice to be done.
Well, today is both chilling and encouraging. It's chilling reading the Inspector General report. It is stunning the abuse of power that we saw in the Obama administration, and sadly it continued over in the deep state for the first couple of years of the Trump administration. You saw the abuse of power at the FBI, the abuse of power at the Department of Justice. And I got to say, as an alumnus of the Department of Justice, I'm angry. I think there are a lot of good men and women that serve at the Department of Justice and the FBI who are angry reading this report. The very best interpretation of the Horowitz Inspector General report is that the FBI and the Department of Justice were manifestly incompetent. The IG report outlines 17 factual misstatements that they made to the FISA court, and that they were utterly negligent in ordering the surveillance, the spying of a presidential nominee and of a sitting president. That's the most favorable interpretation. The real interpretation is these were hardcore political partisans that hated Donald Trump, and they were willing and complicit to abuse the power of law enforcement and intelligence and spy on a political opponent. I think that's chilling.
Ted, that's all well and good, but there better be a real Senate trial. It better be an opportunity for the president to truly be allowed to make his case, to bring this down once and for all. But of course, reporters like at PMS NBC, there's no there, and now all the conspiratorial about a coup against this president. See, because there was no political bias, all that's now debunked. Really? These so-called 14 mistakes. You have an FBI lawyer not making a typo on the application that went to FISA, but literally changing dates, changing events, lying. That's not a mistake. That's not an error. That is calculated deception. We might call that perjury. We might call that criminal. I know what we all want. We want to see a James Comey arrested and forced to do the perp walk like they did to Roger Stone. And of course, PMSNBC is reporting, look what we have from the Mueller investigation. why Flynn was indicted, and Roger Stone and Paul Manafort. You ever notice how all these people that got indicted have connections back to Hillary Rodham Clinton? Think about it. Barack Obama and his having to greet and welcome in the new president told Donald Trump that day in the Oval Office, don't bring General Flynn on your staff. Why didn't Obama like Flynn? Because Flynn was the one that was standing up to Obama regarding his foreign policy and his handling of ISIS, and that it was not a strategy to win. So Flynn had to go. And Flynn had the goods on Obama and Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton. So he became the first target in the coup. Then think about Paul Manafort. Funny, Paul Manafort. Business dealings that he did in the Ukraine years before he ever even knew Donald Trump. And yet the day of his raid of his home, when he was thrown in handcuffs, John Podesta, one-time campaign advisor to Hillary Rodham Clinton, who was also doing the same type of work in Ukraine, closed up shop, fired the staff, and closed it up. Did he get a warning from Hillary? We're going after Manafort. You've got to get out of the radar path. And then Roger Stone. Now, Roger Stone I've interviewed on this program twice. People have varying opinions of Roger Stone, and by his own admission, yeah, he plays dirty politics. And as he likes to say, one person's dirty politics is another person's freedom fighter. Like the Democrats and the liberals never engage in dirty politics. But I take you back to the contested election versus George Bush and Al Gore. Al Gore needed to be elected to secure, to preserve the Clinton legacy. Who was it that upended that recount in Florida? It was Roger Stone. Jim Baker brought in Roger Stone in Dade County. Roger Stone is the one that got the recounting to stop. The Supreme Court stepped in. George Bush became the president. Hillary Rodham Clinton is in this up to her eyeballs because she is deep state. She is oligarch. And make no mistake about it, Donald Trump and his team are desperately trying to expose all of this and pull it down. We need some Republicans to get some guts and to stick with it, even through an ugly, lengthy Senate trial. If this is over and done, all of these people walk free. And we'll never see any of this really exposed and brought to justice, other than we'll talk about it on platforms like this and we'll be relegated to conspiratorial, fake media. You want the real truth to come out? You really want to see some people in handcuffs doing a perp walk? You want the lying, legacy, corporate, corrupt mainstream media to finally be exposed for the state-run media that they actually are and not the freedom of the press? You got to grit your teeth a little bit, because I know it angered me to see James Comey take that little victory lap. But just remember, he who laughs last laughs best. We are going to bring these people down. It needs to go to a Senate trial. This is a gift the Democrats are actually giving the president. Will Mitch McConnell allow it to go through? Because I believe everything will come out, even right back to Benghazi. This really will blow the lid off of the corruptness of the Obama administration. Remember, Trump is a 4D chess player. He is a long game player. Let the media have their laugh now. Because the truth is, they're so over their head now. They really, this is beyond them. They're just following the script that's being given to them. And I promise you, it goes back to something I said here months ago. The curse causeless shall not come. And at the risk of being laughed at, and I don't care, I'm telling you, the very people that have tried to, and for years it has worked with every other presidential administration to get these presidents in line to follow in lockstep with the intelligence community and let them really run the country, and for this president to say no, and so they were going to bring him down. And yet everything they're trying on him is boomeranging, and it is blowing up on them for a time such as this. Let's give this a little longer. Let's let Mr. Barr really make the case. And let him laugh right now. Let the other side laugh. Because while they're laughing, they really don't know what Barr is up to. And Comey, deep down knows if Barr really gets to do what he doesn't want him to do, he is going to jail, no matter what he tells his mother-in-law in the nursing home. Hey, that's it for this rant. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and a like. Share this video everywhere because we know YouTube will do everything they can to suppress it. Thank you, and make sure you're a subscriber to the channel and smack the bell for notification of my next rant.